I'm Hannah,
And I'm Steve.
and today we're interviewing Zoe Colmenares, one of the JuJu Tea's artists. We've known Zoe since 2014. Does that sound right, Zoe?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's when you went to UNO,
Yeah.
right? Cool.
Yeah.
And so we're first going to tell you the story of how we know Zoe, which we just alluded to. But Steve and I both went to the University of New Orleans, and Zoe did as well. And when I was at the University of New Orleans, I was a resident assistant. And one year I got we used to only live with resident assistants, but then the year that Zoe came to the University of New Orleans, that changed and we could pick our roommate, but then we also had two other roommates. And so Zoe was one of my two other roommates that year when I was a resident assistant. And then Steve was not one of our roommates, but could have been. So Steve would be there all the time. So Zoe was kind of like our roommate.
Yeah, I'd agree to that.
We roomed together at the University of New Orleans, and then, later became sorority sisters at the University of New Orleans, and then have kind of stayed in touch on social media and things like that. But then Zoe applied through the link in our website, and now we have two of your designs. One I'm wearing, one Steve's wearing. Yeah.
Also, I love your earrings, and I think
I make them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sick. Rebel will love them too.
Yeah.
Rebel's our cat. She loves like little fur ball things. So.
Yeah.
Like puffs.
So any of the ones that don't end up going on earrings become cat toys. So all of my friends have like 6 or more pom-poms all like thrown around their house for their cats. My cats
awesome.
just get into the earrings that they want to. So I lose a lot of merchandise. I have 2 cats, Gadget and Gizmo.
Love that.
They're little
So
twins.
They're
so
choose
cute.
their toys.
Like, I like these ones.
No, they'll really do that. I'll have them hung up on like I have like a little cork board that I hang them up on when they're drying, and one of my cats will get on this desk that I'm at and just like paw at them and see if he can get it off. And I'll be like, all right, I guess that one's yours. Like you chose.
We'll get into this later, but I know you do like your other art show type stuff. Is that where you sell most of your other earrings?
Yeah, so I have an art market that I host, and I curate all of the vendors once a month. So it's the last Friday of every month. Yeah.
Cool.
And that's in New Orleans, right?
Yes, it's in New Orleans at Euphorbia Cava Bar, which is on Oak Street.
Cool.
For anybody who's local.
Cool. Well, we will get into these questions. The first one is just tell us about yourself. So, kind of like your background, whatever you want to share, kind of introducing yourself.
Yeah, well, I'm from New Orleans, born and raised. I have basically been here my whole life, which I do love. It's something you grow into loving, definitely. But my dad's an artist, so I kind of was raised in the industry, which I feel very, very fortunate for. And it did give me like a lot of opportunities to see the art around me and to figure out my style at a very young age. But I was hesitant about doing art immediately because I think everybody expected that of me growing up because my dad is an artist. And in high school, the AP studio art teacher found out my dad was an artist and signed me up for AP studio art. And I was furious because I was like, I want that extra study hall. Like, I don't want to take an art class. I was very dramatic. And he was like, well, if you join this class, you can do essentially what you want and like work on the things you want to work on. And immediately I decided I wanted to do the hardest medium, which is oil paint. And I wanted to do hyperrealism. And he was just like, what do you do? He was like, you said you've never taken an art class before and you just like jumped into this. And so I think that's a big description of who I am, is I pick the hardest thing to do first. So everything after it will be simple. And yeah, ever since then, I haven't really stopped doing art. And I'm very lucky to have like kind of built this community of artists that I get to hang out with and that I get to share my work with, and I feel really lucky and it's really exciting.
What kind of art does your dad do? Is it like similar to what you do now
No,
or okay.
not at all. We've never had similar styles, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
He does metal work, and then he does some like paintings, but they're very like cartoony.
Okay. Cool. Cool. What was your earliest memory involving art? So I'm wondering if maybe that was your dad.
Yeah, I think it was definitely my dad. I grew up in the art community. Like I was always at gallery openings. I remember the first time I drank was at a gallery opening. You know what I mean? I have
Yeah.
like those like core memories of like the first time I drank, like just some fun stuff like that. Yeah, I got to go to really cool gallery openings. We always went to White Linen Night in New Orleans when I was really young. And my dad designed a lot of restaurants in New Orleans, and so we would just like go eat afterwards at like some fancy place, like just like fun shit like that. um and then also one of my favorite memories is my dad would just pick projects in our house, which my mom hated. But one day he decided to take our dining room table and make it into a mosaic,
Okay.
which definitely took like a year. Like like he would just like find all of these like cool things and be like, oh, I'm gonna break this up and like make it into something different, and it was always like household items. So I think that's why I am the way that I am, because I pick a project and it definitely doesn't get finished for a year, but I am goal oriented. That's I have goals to finish them eventually. But yeah, I think that's probably one of my first like art memories of my dad, is like him picking projects for us to do and him kind of trying to involve the whole family.
I was gonna ask if you got to help with like the mosaic and things like that.
One of my favorite projects he ever did was the insectarium.
I haven't been there, but I know what you're talking
So
about.
they had this giant chandelier like in the lobby, and it was covered in little bugs, and my dad designed it. And the bugs are made out of like that clay material, kind of like the ones that the material Megan uses for the earrings.
Yeah.
So he taught us the whole family how to make these little bugs, because he needed hundreds of them for this chandelier, and he had never worked with this medium before. They just asked him to do this job, and he was like, I can do that. He was like, yeah, that seems easy. The amount of burnt little bugs, because you have to stick them in the oven for them to cure. Like, it was insane. Like, we would have like small house fires all the time.
Oh my God.
I don't know how long I need to heat that up for. Yeah. So that's probably one of my favorite projects we ever worked on together, because I remember getting home from school. I was probably in like third grade, and I'd get home from school and we would just like sit at the table, the mosaic table, and make little sculpty bugs.
It's just like that's like a really interesting childhood experience, that not a lot of people probably have.
Being the child of an artist is really interesting, because it is really fun, but like there's not always like stability, because being an artist is so like up and down. So I have a lot of like crazy childhood experiences, but I do feel really fortunate.
It almost sounds like a TV show. Like it could be like the script for a TV show.
That would be so fun.
Going back to, we were talking about you have goals to finish projects. How do you know when something's finished?
I don't. That's simple answer. I think that I'm getting better about it now. When I was younger, I would like finish something and then definitely go back to it in a few years and decide I hated it, or like want to do something like halfway over it. And I think now that I'm an adult and I kind of have a vision of like what my style is and how to get there, because I think when I was younger, I didn't have the tools on like how to get there. I didn't really have I not necessarily had the education of art just in general, but I've taught myself a lot of things and I'm able to like look things up if I don't know. And I don't have a problem with saying I don't know something now. When before I would just do it. And if it didn't come out correctly, I just kind of was like, okay, well, it's done. So it doesn't matter anymore. I think that especially with the designs y'all have, the things are heating up. That design is from high school, I want to say.
Okay.
So I drew the lungs in high school, and then I actually did the background when I worked the front desk at UNO.
That's fun.
So
those are like good hours to do.
Oh yeah, I would bring my paints downstairs. And when I worked at the desk, the goal was to finish a different sketch in my sketchbook every night I was down there. So like if I started something in high school, if I started something just in my room, I had to finish it while I was at the desk. So, which was cool.
I can imagine that can be sometimes difficult if there's like an incident happening.
Yeah, well, we didn't have many incidents during the times I worked.
Yes.
Hannah, do you remember the laundry room incident?
Like with someone coming through the window?
Oh, that one, but that wasn't on my shift. Mine was the people doing their laundry naked.
I don't remember this at all.
This happened a lot on my shift.
Oh my goodness.
A lot. Like at least 3 or 4 times.
Were you at the desk after I was graduated, or was I still there?
I think you were still there. But
I
think
if that was when I lived in Lafitte.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I just didn't like hear about maybe I didn't hear about this.
Yeah, I would
just butt naked?
Butt naked.
No way.
They would put their laundry in and then strip fully naked and put those clothes in.
No.
And so they had no clothes.
What would happen if someone like walked in?
They didn't care.
Oh no.
And I was like, I was so stressed.
I wonder if this is just like a normal thing that happened in their household, and they're like,
well, and I think that's what it was. It was like a normal thing to them, which like is fine, I guess. But I would have to go in there and be like, "Hey, bud,
could you not?"
Yeah, like I don't even remember what they would do to like solve the situation, but
oh my gosh, I
think the first time I had to call an RA, and I felt because I didn't know how to address the situation.
Yeah.
Because it was like my second week working.
I wouldn't know how to address it like as an RA. I'd be like, hey, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened. They were like, you can't do that.
Those were interesting times for sure. One of the questions was art always a part of your life? But I think we established it was. Did it become like a bigger part of your life at any point, or like sort of, you kind of talked about like not really wanting to do art, and then that high school AP class kind of pushed you back into it?
Yeah, I would say that doing it in high school really kind of threw me back into it, and I don't think I stopped until like sophomore year of college. Like I was doing art a lot like at the dorms and things like that, and then I stopped for a while because a lot of family stuff happened, and I was also working a lot, and I didn't have time, and I didn't have the brain capacity to be able to like create. And sometimes that's just the case, unfortunately. Doing art isn't easy. Like sometimes people think it like just comes to me, and it doesn't. I do think I have a natural ability to do art, but it still takes like energy and work to create. But I think I started doing art again a few years ago. And now I've made it almost a habit. Like if I go to like a coffee shop or something, or if I'm going to do something in the middle of the day and take a chunk out of my day, I need to be working on something. And it's been art lately. And I love that. Like, I love that I've gotten into the habit of actually like creating things and finishing them and having big projects that I'm constantly working on.
Do you kind of like what is your process like? Are you like, so you kind of talked about like going to a coffee shop and like having some like intentional time. Mm-hmm. Do you kind of like, is it something where you're like, this week I've been feeling like this way, and so I kind of want to create something that reflects that. Like, what's your sort of like start to finish, or maybe not even start to finish, because we kind of talked about how you can like revisit and edit, but like how do like ideas come to you, and like can you talk a little bit about that process?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I've never even like considered that. I A lot of my work isn't emotional. And I think that a lot of the time people who see artists assume that everything has a meaning, and I don't necessarily think that's true. But what I kind of do is I get passionate about one thing. Like I have a lot of hyperfixations, and I get passionate about one thing, and then I want to create something around that.
Mm.
So lately I've been working on zodiac postcards.
Ooh.
Cool.
So I went in and I learned a bunch of stuff about each zodiac sign, and I am like I find the flower of that zodiac sign, the gemstone, the colors that are around it, what the constellations look like, and I create, or like the animal, and I'll create like a little, almost like a little doodle about like how I see it, which has been really cool. Like for Aries, it's a ram's horn with honeysuckles coming out of it because that's their
Ooh,
flower. And then in the honeysuckles is the star sign or the
cool.
constellation. And so I've been doing that, and that has been something that has been taking up a lot of my time, mostly because I wrote about it, I sketched about it, I've created a few final pieces, but even then I still want to like color it, scan it, find a printer, all of those things. So I definitely have hyperfixations, and I decide I'm going to do a big project, and that's the only thing I want to work on while I'm doing while I'm living my life.
Yeah, and that one specifically too, there is sort of like an ending, because it's like once you do all of them, so
Yeah.
that's kind of an interesting like approach too, of like I'm going to do all of these, but they're all going to be like unique and
Yes.
kind of similar, but like also their own. That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's been really cool. I've really enjoyed that. And then I'm also working on a book. It's a book about sex workers, and I'm drawing like other sex workers I know, and they get to use the image forever, however they want, stickers, shirts, ads, whatever, as long as I can use it in the book.
Is
Cool.
it just like drawing, or is it also like writing book?
It's drawing, but I want to do interviews with them all.
Oh yeah.
But that's really based off of like who wants to be interviewed, because not all girls are going to want to be interviewed,
Sure. Yeah.
which is completely natural. So right now I think I have like 15 drawings, which has been really cool, and all of them are in different styles. So some of them are in pen, some are in pencil, some are in watercolors. I'm gonna do like some like oil paintings of them and like photograph those. So stuff like that. And like there are gonna definitely be some girls who like are featured 3 or 4 times. And I'm trying to do people of and it's not just women either. There's like non-binary people, there are men. And I want it to be just very like diverse, because I think that sex work is diverse, no matter like even when it's not diverse in represented media. And so I want to really be able to like focus on that as well.
Is it specific to like New Orleans as well?
I'm trying to make it as specific to New Orleans as I can, but a lot of the girls and a lot of the people that I know that do sex work here aren't necessarily from here or necessarily live here. So I don't think it's going to be as specific to New Orleans as I'd like it to be, just because I don't think that I know enough people.
Yeah. I like the idea of like some of them repeating, because like if I read a book, I'm thinking of this like one specific book of short stories, but the stories don't necessarily have anything to do with each other, but sometimes like it'll circle back to something from another story. And I feel like if you were like not reading, but like kind of like consuming your work, you know, and you're like, oh wait, this is something I've seen before, or like it's like diving deeper into that person's story.
Yeah.
That would be like a cool experience as like the consumer of it.
And the main reason I want to do that is because some people I know that do sex work in this city don't just do one kind. Like some are burlesque dancers and strippers and do full service and escort and things like that. And so for me it's really cool because like you said there's like more levels to a person. And I think with being able to put them in several times like you kind of get deeper and deeper each time.
Yeah, yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. That's going to be years in the making, though. I want it to be like a huge coffee table book.
Yeah,
Like the goal is to have like 200 girls.
I like
Or,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you think the people that you do know, like how you said they don't live in New Orleans, was that like primarily the pandemic, you think? That like changed where people
Um,
lived?
I don't know. I think that some of it's probably the pandemic, but also just people travel a lot in in the industry. So,
Gotcha.
which I think is cool.
Yeah. Cool. That's an awesome project.
Yeah,
Um, definitely buy it once it comes out.
yeah, send it to us for sure.
For like 5 years from now, but I'll hit y'all up.
What is the art scene like in New Orleans these days? So like we haven't lived there for like 5 years now, but like what is it kind of like? I think people sort of think of like Jackson Square, there's artists around there, galleries like we kind of talked about, but how is that evolving and including like your art market that you host?
It's becoming more art markets.
Mm.
Like there's a lot more pop-ups in art markets, which I think is fantastic. And the main reason I think it's fantastic is because it's accessible.
Yeah.
And galleries aren't always accessible to a smaller business or a smaller artist. And we also have social media now and TikTok, which I am seeing some of these like smaller businesses and these smaller artists blow up on TikTok. And I think that is incredible. I think it's really changing. Like, I think social media is changing a lot of like how artist communities are seen. And also just being able to like have a little pop-up shop or have a little art market and be able to get your name out there is so cool. There's another place called like Pirates Alley, which is near Decatur, I want to say. And I know some people who have art up there, which is really cool. And it's like a late night thing that people go down to, kind of like the Frenchman art markets, but it's a little different. It's a little more like gallery showing. But that's even more accessible than being in a gallery or being in the Frenchman art market.
I like that like markets are popping up more because like even I feel like especially with like this idea of accessibility, like I would be kind of intimidated going to a gallery, but I would be like not intimidated to go to an art market. So I feel like even your reach is probably different than if you had art in a gallery, which totally has its benefits of having art in a gallery, but having it like in an art market, like you maybe even get your name out there more because of just like the kind of traffic of like everyday people.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people come to the city looking for that, and they really only see like downtown Jackson Square. So like having those, I think, is a great way to like get different types of art that they're not going to be able to find there.
And one of the cool things about the art market that I host is it's curated. So one of the things I tell artists is I'm like, it's not first come, first serve. What happens is you send me pictures of your art, you tell me what your art is about, and I make sure that you are put next to a table that is not similar to yours, or that all of us are going to work very well together, and that it has like the work is diverse, things like that. Because I have gone to art markets where there's 6 candle vendors, and that cuts like your customers and like in a 6 by 6, it's not ideal.
Yeah.
And
totally.
so I think being able to curate something like this is really cool because I want to give artists opportunities. And like it's not even
Absolutely.
trying to exclude anybody, it's trying to like include as many people as I can.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I think like even it's like kind of similar to how we like look at our group of artists too, is like, if someone came and they had like really similar style to you, it's like, well, Zoe's kind of doing that.
Yeah.
And also like the art of curation too is like making sure that like voices are heard, but also like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but this is kind of how we view it. Like, we want to showcase like people who care about the same things. And like, with that nonprofit donation piece, like we want to make sure people aren't like, I want to give to build a wall. And we're like, no, like
No,
not
exactly.
today.
Like that TikTok.
Yeah, not today. And so it's sort of like, like creating a network too of these people
Yeah.
who are like working towards the same things and passionate about the same things to grow the voice of that passion. Like, look at all of us who are supporting this thing and all of us who want to like promote art and create this community. So I feel like that's like similar to what you're doing too, is like this kind of united yet diverse curation of people.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Um, and it's cool to be able to have that opportunity. Sorry, it's my cats. They're trying to.
They're picking out their pom poms. So let's talk about the pieces that you have through JuJu Tea. So this one, the Fille de Marais, and then the Things Are Heating Up piece. So we kind of talked about this one being created in high school and then finished in college. But what about this one? Do you want to talk about like kind of what inspired it and like how it came to be?
That one was created while I was evacuated for Ida. So, honestly, I made it so I could sell stickers and sell prints and things, and 100% of the profits could go to families in need after Ida. I was very fortunate to be able to evacuate and to also be able to help out when I came back. I made a post on Facebook or something that went like, I don't want to say viral, but like I got a lot of donations. Um, and I was able to bring back gas, make a few Costco runs, and also donate directly to families. And to me, it was just something that needed to be done. Uh, and I also wanted to be able to create something that people could have, because I know that a lot of the time people do want a physical thing.
Yeah.
When they make donations, which is valid, that I understand that too. And so I wanted to be able to have that for people as well. And so I made stickers. I think I really only had stickers at the time because I got to y'all real quick with the the design right after.
Yeah.
But yeah, so pretty sure I sold like all the stickers, and all of the profits went to directly to families in need after Hurricane Ida.
Yeah, and that even like how you talked about like having like an item, I think too it's like sort of like representative of like you were like processing kind of what was happening while making this, and then those who have it, it's sort of like, you know, emblematic of like this thing that happened that so many people were impacted by, whether or not, their house was impacted, but like evacuating is traumatic. Like, we were in Minnesota when Hurricane Ida hit, and like watching it on Twitter was like horrifying because it felt very much like Hurricane Katrina. And until it passes, like you don't know what is left. I feel like when I look at this piece, it's like kind of reminds me of that, but not in like a I'm traumatized kind of way, but like in this like beautiful, like artistic, like like you synthesized what was happening and put it into like a piece of art. And so I feel that when I see this piece, because I'm like, I kind of remember what was happening, but it's also like this beautiful representation of it.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big things about art, is that it can just pull all of these things together and create something like almost magical and something beautiful that allows people to feel a lot of things because Hurricane Ida was hard. It was really hard for a lot of people. And I think that being able to have like this kind of token that reminds them of almost like what this city is made of. And like, despite all of the things we've gone through, still like being a girl in the swamp or like being a girl of the swamp, which is what Fille de Marais is, like swamp girl. And just people knowing that, like people knowing that we're still here and that we will still be okay despite everything.
I also think it's like not like on the news, it's always about New Orleans, but it's more than like just the actual city, like all those places that are part of it but aren't like thought of in like New Orleans.
Which is why I made my donation to the Homa Indigenous People Foundation.
Yeah.
Because that was really important to me because they didn't get any help from FEMA. They're off the map. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous, but they weren't getting any help and they were stranded. And so to me, that was really, really, really important because like you said, Steve, like Louisiana isn't just New Orleans. New Orleans is great. It is, but there are also other people all over Louisiana who are struggling significantly after Hurricane Ida.
I guess you touched on this a little bit with your book and everything that you have going on with your art market. Is there anything else that you have planned for the future?
I have recently become, I think it's the vending director or vending coordinator for a community gallery called Creole Connections.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, it's really cool. Basically they curate artists and like do pop-up galleries.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Insane. Like I've never heard of the concept. It's amazing. They're great. The person who runs it is Callie Paget. She's an incredible artist, like one of the most amazing artists I've ever seen. She does a lot of like Louisiana-based stuff. And so she curates all of the artists for the gallery, and I essentially help curate all of the vendors for the openings. So they'll have like an art opening, and then the gallery part will either stay up or either not. It depends on the venue. And then they'll have like a closing show.
How did you get like tapped for that opportunity? Did you apply for it? Like, was it kind of related to your market?
So honestly, I was one of the artists that was curated for the last event for Global Green. And she just noticed that I showed up early. I helped hang stuff, you know what I mean? All of these things. And she was talking to me about vendor lists, and I was like, oh, well, like, you know, that I have lists and lists and lists of vendors at any given moment. And I was like, and I also have lists of like people who will show up in 6 hours. You know what I mean? I can be like, hey, do you want to do a market? And for the most part, they'll say yes, which is awesome. Like very lucky to have built those relationships. But, and she was like, wait, that's exactly what we need. Like, she was like, that's exactly what I've been looking for. And we kind of talked about the position and whether like we think I would have been good for it and stuff like that. And then she offered it to me. So
awesome.
It's still in the works because creating something like that is so big. Like being able to find spaces and things like that. But right now they're working on like the Piano Painters Project, I think is what it's called. I can send you the link to it. And it's different artists all over the city, and they're painting pianos that are going to be installed all over the city.
That's awesome.
I've never heard of it, but I'm super excited. And so I'm going to help with some stuff to do with that too.
Cool.
Soon. I don't know when the opening date is. And then I have a festival I'll be working in May. It's the Moonlight Festival. It's in like Abita, Louisiana, I think.
Oh, cool. It's an art festival or like okay.
Moon Shadow Festival. I'm sorry. in May 21st to 22nd in Abita Springs.
Cool. So you'll have a booth there?
I'll have a booth there, yeah. And that is also, they're working with Creole Connections to find vendors and stuff. So I'm also helping Creole Connections with the vendors.
Cool. That's awesome.
I'm super excited.
I also really love the piano thing because, like, just going around New Orleans, you're gonna hear like people playing and stuff. So
yeah,
I think it's a really cool, like, culturally thing for New Orleans.
Yeah, it feels like really appropriate.
Yeah, and it's all Black and Indigenous artists that were chosen, which I think is really amazing and is really representative of New Orleans too, which I think is super important.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Well, where can people like keep up with you and check out your work? So this is like your social media and website and everything.
So it's Zoe by Zoe. So Zoe, like go Tigers.
We'll have to like spell that out.
EAUXBYZOE on all social media. Follow me on TikTok. I don't post much, but I just posted a dueling, like 2 marching bands dueling at Mardi Gras, which was very cool. It was like drumline. It was so fun. TikTok. I think I have a Twitter. I definitely have Instagram and Facebook.
You still have your own website? Is it
yes, I do have my own website. Yeah, it's zoebyzoe.com. Don't look at it on a MacBook because I have to fix it. So
you accept like commissions, like if someone were to reach out to you about that?
I do accept commissions. I think most artists aren't a huge fan of commissions, but I am someone that like I would like to work with someone to build a commission instead of being told like, hey, can you do XYZ in this style for this price? Things like that. I think that because I have my own style, I am willing to do commissions that are more in my style and like to talk with the customer because I think that's really important. Like it needs to be, if you want a piece from me, it needs to be in my style.
Yeah.
And I think that's a boundary that I'm willing to create.
Yeah, as you should. I never really thought of it that way. Like how that would be like received, you know, if someone were to like ask you to do something. But yeah, I think that makes sense, like wanting to work together on it and like understand the project and everything.
Yeah. I love when people give me like, I draw a lot of bodies and like things like that and like kind of like abstract realism. So I love when people give me like, hey, I want, or this is a picture of me, draw this in your style, but I love these colors, or like I love heavy shadows and abstract or hyper realism, things like that. And I love being told like ideas opposed to I need you to draw this picture of my cat in pencil with a blue background. You know what I mean? Like things like that. And I'm like, did you look on my page? There's no pictures of cats. Like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I'll do it, but it's going to be something that isn't going to be my favorite. And I want everything I make to be my favorite. And I want it to be y'all's favorite too. So
is it your preference then, like as an artist, for someone to just like choose something you've already done? Like that's the way you want people to buy from you, like preferably? Or
I do like doing commissions when I'm able to work with someone. I think that's more of what it is. Like, okay. I think that like if you want to buy something from me that's already made, sure. But also it's really cool when someone sees something on my website and is like, I love that, but instead of a heart, can you make it lungs? And can you do like thinner lines with like a clouded background? And I'm like, yeah, like I can do that. Cause it's like, you can look at things that I have similar, but it's your own piece.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I always ask people like what kind of like color palettes they like. And if they want to send me color palettes on Pinterest or like send me things they've seen, not necessarily other people's art, because I'm very like big on, I'm not going to copy someone's style just because you want to buy a piece of art from me.
Yeah.
Like I'm very big on that, but it's like, if you have color preferences or if you have like kind of like style preferences that could go with my style, like really cool line work. I love doing line work. So if you want something that's really abstract in the background and then has like really cool line work in the like forefront, totally, that sounds awesome. If we want to make it 3D, let's go. I do metal work too. So things like that, like I love a good conversation about some art. Like, let's do it. So,
Well, on that note, this has been a great conversation about art.
very good ending.
Well, thank you for chatting with us. I feel like I learned a lot about you, and I thought I like kind of knew a good bit about your art process. So I feel like, for anyone listening, and I'm glad that we get to share you with others, and we get to share your art with others because it's really beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that so much. It's so funny though, because I feel like we've known each other for so long and we're learning different parts of each other all the time now because of this process, which is fun.
Yeah. Awesome.
Everybody follow me on Instagram.
Yeah, Zoe by Zoe. Like, go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Everyone do your best, Cocho. Go Tigers. Just kidding. I'll save everyone the embarrassment. Well, take care, Zoe.
Awesome. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.